Welcome. Thank you for joining. We will keep this short, packed full of value and proof, numbers, data, and all sorts of things that will help your practice grow measurably. All right. You need patients in chairs. You need patients to fill chairs daily, and you need a predictable flow, and you need to take your existing ad spend, which is your biggest and most powerful tool in your arsenal, is ensuring that your brand is out there and taking that existing ad spend and turning it into something measurable, right? So our measure was taking $5,000 in paid ad spend over 12 weeks and turning it into 130 filled out qualified forms and over 47 calls. All right, so these are examples of the forms, and as you'll see here, we'll get right into it with the patient form examples and some of our research this year. This was about halfway through this particular campaign here, and so you'll see Nova Dental Arts, they're a practice out in Sterling, Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., and these are the forms that have been filled out, patient info redacted, of course. And what you can see is a number of questions that they're answering, prior to coming into your office. All right. So you'll look at what dental problems you're currently experiencing. I require upper and lower dentures. Smiles minimized. Excellent skill with patient is the most important factor when choosing a dentist. Right. Excellent skill with the patient. Teeth that are infected, was in the hospital. Now someone's requested them to get them out. So, that's an extraction, and you look at, I'm not picky, hopefully someone that can help, right? These are folks that are looking for a new dentist, all right? This was number 715 in Singapore. They're actually well over 1,000 now, but this was 715 when we did this particular PDF here with all these examples and redacted the info from the patients. And as you see here, right, gentle and understanding, they're missing 2 upper right teeth and they're looking to come see a dentist. So how do we get here, right? How do we get to, taking a very minimal amount of ad spend, okay, which is your ads here, and turning it into, a predictable amount of patient flow and generating, almost 200, new qualified inquiries for, less than $5,000 in ad spend. All right. So if we look at the actual campaign here, let's say, this is the one in Washington that we're looking at today. So you'll notice the numbers, right? So this is really important here. So the numbers, let me just zoom in for you here. So we actually upped their budget recently to about $70 a day. Okay. So if you look at the amount of clicks that they had over this time frame, okay, so the time frame has been from March 26th to June 19th. All right, as you can see. And over that time frame, they have gotten approximately over 5 million impressions. All right, so the amount of impressions is just really the amount of times your ad is appearing in some sort of news feed or is somewhere, right? So an impression is an impression you've made upon, it could be the same people 2 or 3 times or 4 or 5 times, depending, on how you have your ad set. But in this case, we have the ad set to only appear twice in that person's, and if they don't click on it, then we don't want that ad appearing, again, because obviously they're wasted eyeballs. Out of those 5 million impressions, they've received 11,000 clicks. Okay, so they've got 11,000 clicks to the landing page, which we'll take you to in a second. And their average cost per click was 46 cents in dental. 46 cents. Okay, so as you can see here, $5,000 is what they spent. And the number of conversions they got was 456. Now, this conversion metric is measured upon the first step in our funnel process, which we're going to be teaching you. But essentially, this number is relative to the amount of actual filled out forms that we want to get. So 456 emails that we got, or people that actually physically requested some information, moved to about 130 patients moved to the next step to fill out a form, and 47 called in directly. Okay, so if you look at their cost per conversion on this, which is patient acquisition cost on their actual ad spend, it's about $11, per person that's interested in them. All right, so if you're running mailouts, if you're running radio advertising, newspaper ads, we all know that it's $20,000 to $40,000 depending on the campaign. Your mail-out campaigns will cost anywhere from 25 to 30 grand. And, your cost per conversion is well over $100. We know, we don't, everything that we preach, everything that we do, we've done, right? So we do in our business today. It's not like we don't do mail-outs. It's just we do mail-outs a specific way, and there's a specific way they have to be done in order to make sure that your cost per conversion and your cost per patient acquisition is low, right? So the cost to get an email, across the $5,000 ad spend was about $11, right, for us. Now, the email is not what put the patient in the chair. What puts the patient in the chair is the actual next step, right? So let's take you through the visualization of this. So the person goes to the ads, all right, so we'll show you the ads, and we have them separated out between male and female here so we can see the different demographics in each market. And what they're going to do is they're going to click on, one of these ads, and they're going to be taken to a landing page. So this is the landing page. This is just one of many variants that we run. This just happens to be one of the, our top converting pages. And so when the patient lands on this page, they're going to fill out the form to download their guide, right? And it's very unintimidating. It gives them, a way to get to know you and your practice and actually learn a little bit more just about the implant procedures and so on and so forth. And at the same time, you're offering them, a no obligation way to come in and see you. Right, you have a little bit of a review here, as well as a very simple before and after picture sequence, right? So the scroll isn't more than one frame, and it only gives them one thing to do, which is fill out their name and email and request a guide. If they don't, they don't, right? They're gone. They weren't a patient anyways. So they're going to request your guide. Next step they move to is filling out your consultation form. So as soon as they've filled out the guide request for download, okay, and we'll put my name in here for testing purposes, right? So leads at busy, okay, send my free guide, and they're moved to a second form. All right, so this is the most important part, or I guess the second most important part of this type of system, right? Which is taking someone from a cold eyeball, disrupting what they're doing in their daily in their daily lives, and appealing to something that they have been putting off for a long time, right? So the fact that they requested that information, most people aren't giving them a way to capture that interest in the moment, right? So you want to live in the moment, you want to be in the moment, you want to capture them in the moment. This is the moment, right? So this is exactly what leads to, over 130 new patient inquiries, within a very short period of time, right? With a very, very low ad spend. This form here leads to exactly what we were just looking at, which is these patient forms, right? So you'll see these patient forms. This is Vancouver, for instance. It doesn't really matter where you are, right? Toronto, New York, Australia, California, right? It doesn't matter where you are in Niagara Falls. Patients are looking for help, right? Every single one of these patients is looking for help. How is this impacting your daily life? I hate it. I want my smile back, right? His competence is the most important factor when choosing a dentist. So, biggest thing, is your receptionist and is your front office appealing to this very statement here? The fact when this person calls in and inside they know they hate their smile and they want it back. And, the person picks up the phone and doesn't appeal to that very intimate fear and that very intimate, self-consciousness, then essentially you have lost the patient, right? You have absolutely no chance of closing this person. The first person that appeals to these two biggest factors, right? Basically giving them their smile back and their competence, right? Showing them their competence is going to win, right? So that's the winner. So that's exactly the outcome that we're hoping to get. And as you can see from the numbers, here, the Nova Dental Artist free consultation form, we're at 129, right? So this was number 129 that came in. This was as of Friday, and this person here basically has to use adhesives every single day. Honesty and price is their most important factor. Okay, so as you can see, many of these folks just downloaded the guide and needed a little bit of time, to move through that nurturing phase to get to that end phase, right? So that is exactly what we do, in order to take basically this amount of ad spend, right, $5,000 in ad spend, and turn it into a predictable amount of new patient flow, right? You take them through a measurable set of steps, right, that basically ensure that they're either separated between the nurture phase and the buying phase, right? So if the person lands on your landing page, they're given something to actually take home, right? There's something that which you don't have to actually physically give to them. This is all done while you sleep, right? So follow these best practices. Set your campaigns up in such a way where they're run through the display ad network. Make sure that you're giving somebody something of value through the display network. Make sure your headlines are very clear. Make sure you're appealing to their most intimate desires, which is smiling with confidence, eating normally again, and living pain-free. Okay, and give them a way to fill out your form. That's it. And when you get to that point, you will start noticing that people are calling in and looking for help. If you listen to some of these call recordings, they're absolutely stunned that they get somebody live on the phone. That's not good in the dental industry. All right. I mean, there's several things that affect conversions. The biggest thing is not getting somebody live on the phone, right? So here's another example: 47 calls, from March 13th to June 19th. Now again, March 13th there's a little bit of a dip in when we started. So we didn't actually start for another 5 or 6 days, but this was turned on. But as you can see, the data started. It's 47 calls in approximately 3 months. So that is how you generate a massive amount of patient flow. Make sure that you give your patients something to take home, something of value, as opposed to doing what everybody else does, which is where we're going to get to in the video of what you should not be doing with your ad spend. So this is something that will absolutely make you so apathetic to spending money on marketing and make everybody's job more difficult to convince you that marketing is, and of course lead generation and positioning your brand is good for your business, which we shouldn't have to do. But of course, if you run certain ads to pages like this, which costs about $8 to $10 a click. And by the way, if you're the owner of this website, I'm more than happy to refund you the cost of that click, and even more if you just give us a shout. But at the end of the day, and I will basically show you how you should not be running your ads to this page here. So this page is very low converting. Again, we've run several different types of ads converting, landing pages and so on and so forth. And to be honest, you have to give people a very simple way to get to know you, right? There's no value offered here. It's just request an appointment, and it's some sort of basic text, that I just would scroll down, barely read. And if I really wanted to contact you, I would have to go and go to your contact page, right? There's 4 other options up here, right? Plus another 10 down here. So I really don't need, to click on that ad and see somebody not giving me a way to get in touch with them easily and not convincing me why I should get in touch with them in the first place. Okay, so it's very, very important that you do not run ads to contact pages. You need to run an ad to something that gives your patient something of value, where you also get something of value in return. Because again, everything that we do and everything that is done here, there's 2 portions to it. There's the front end and there's the back end. So once you do capture that person's email address and they weren't ready to fill out the form, you put them through an automation sequence, right? So this is another tool that we use. It's called ActiveCampaign, and this basically puts your patients through a sequence where it'll send them an email every so often, every few days, and ensure that they are properly nurtured. And if they're not ready to buy yet, then they will be ready to buy within 30 days. And if they're not ready to buy within 30 days, or at least come to see you within 30 days, then they weren't a good candidate in the first place, or they just needed a few more months of nurturing, which at that point, we like to sort of get out to them, say once a month or once every few weeks with a little bit of information, just to make sure that if they do think of that procedure, they think of you. So hopefully you find this of value. If you want to book a session to find out more of this, or you want to read some of our issues and articles and join the podcast, please register below. Thank you so much. We wish